Hello guys, zip through film history with Flashback flicks, subscribe for the ride. Today we'll start off our journey into the world of the Lorax. A 12-year-old boy looking to impress the girl of his dreams searches for one thing that can grab her attention. For that, he is required to know the story of Lorax, a charming creature. Our story begins in the walled city of Thneedville, where everything is plastic, everything is manufactured and synthetic, even the trees which don't produce oxygen. Oxygen is delivered to each house by a company called O'Hare Air, which is owned by the town's mayor, Aloysius O'Hare. Among these citizens is Ted Wiggins, a boy full of curiosity and hope, had a deep crush on a girl named Audrey. Audrey was different from the other kids in Thneedville. She dreamed of seeing a real tree, not the fake ones that adorned their perfectly manicured lawns. Ted's longing to impress Audrey drove him to do something bold. He asked his wise and loving grandmother about where he could find a real tree. His grandmother, who seemed to know everything, told him of the Onceler, a mysterious figure who lived beyond the walls of Thneedville, in a barren and lifeless wasteland. Ted, filled with determination, set out on his scooter, venturing beyond the city's boundaries for the first time. The journey was harsh. The once beautiful landscape was now a desolate wasteland, covered in smog and devoid of life. After what seemed like an eternity, Ted found himself at the doorstep of the Onceler's old, decrepit house, hidden away in the middle of the wasteland. The Onceler, an old man living in solitude, was initially reluctant to speak to Ted. But after some persistence, he agreed to share the story of how the world had come to be this way, a story filled with regret, greed, and the loss of something precious. The Onceler's tale takes us back to his youth, when he was an ambitious inventor seeking his fortune. He scoured the globe in search of the perfect material for his product but found no success, until one day. He found lush, vibrant forest, filled with colorful truffula trees, playful barbier lutes, and lively swommy swans. The forest was a paradise, teeming with life and beauty. The truffula trees were unlike anything the Onceler had ever seen, with their soft, colorful tufts that swayed gently in the breeze. It was a place of wonder, untouched by the greed of men. Driven by his ambition to create a product that everyone would want, the Onceler chopped down his first truffula tree to make a thneed, a highly versatile garment that he was sure would be a hit. This action summoned the Lorax, a small, orange creature with a mustache, who spoke for the trees and all the creatures of the forest. The Lorax was the guardian of the forest, and he was not happy with the Onceler's actions. The Lorax warned the Onceler of the consequences of his greed, but the Onceler, blinded by the potential for success, dismissed the Lorax's concerns. Ted listens to the story carefully, but the old man refuses to continue, and said if he wants to hear more, you must come back tomorrow. After returning home, Ted starts daydreaming about Audrey's birthday. In his mind, he's there too, presenting her with a living tree. Just as they're about to kiss, his mom pulls him back to reality. Ted knows he needs to see Onceler again, but he's stuck spending the weekend with his family. Luckily, his mom gets bored and goes to her room, giving Ted the opportunity to sneak out. But as he tries to leave, he's stopped by O'Hare at the exit gate. The greedy mayor doesn't want anyone to figure out how to grow trees, as it would threaten his business of selling packaged oxygen. He warns Ted not to interfere, reminding him that he's watching every citizen closely. Despite the warning, Ted is determined and won't back down. After O'Hare leaves, Ted manages to slip out of town once more. Onceler is surprised to see him again and continue the story. As night falls, he finishes his first product and goes to sleep. While he sleeps, the Lorax and the animals carefully take his bed and gently place it in the flowing river. However, they soon discover that Pipsqueak is on the bed too, so they rush to save him. After a lot of struggle, they manage to rescue both of them. Onceler felt grateful for the act of kindness and promised never to cut down another tree again. The next morning, he woke up to find himself surrounded by all the animals, who were now making a mess of his belongings. Onceler showed his product to the Lorax, but the Lorax mocked it, predicting it would be a total failure. In response, Onceler demonstrated that his product could be transformed into various items, such as swimsuits, rugs, hats, and more. Onceler went to town to sell his product, but nobody liked it, and people even mocked him. Devastated, he threw away the thneed, which accidentally landed on the head of a beautiful girl, making her look quite trendy. Disappointed, Onceler returned to the forest and decided to live his life with the forest animals. Suddenly, a crowd of people marched his way, requesting the thneed and offering to buy it. It looked like he was about to get rich. Onceler leaves the story at a cliffhanger. The next day after visiting the market, Ted tries to leave town again, but O'Hare has sealed the exit. Ted looks around and discovers a cloud-high building. He uses it to jump beyond the town boundaries. Upon reaching Onceler, Ted presents him with a bag of marshmallows and listens to the rest of the story. As the thneed gained popularity, the Onceler's business grew. His greedy family arrived to help. The Lorax didn't like his family arrival, but Onceler assured him that the trees would be safe. Despite this assurance, harvesting began, his mother pressuring him to expand production. Despite his initial promise to the Lorax, the Onceler began clear-cutting the forest to meet the increasing demand for thneeds. As the trees are being cut down, the Lorax protests vigorously. He points out the harm being done to the environment and its inhabitants. Onceler is blinded by greed and refuses to listen. He rationalizes his destructive behavior, convincing himself that his actions are justified in the name of progress and profit. The valley's landscape changes dramatically, with factories and machines replacing the natural beauty. As the Onceler's business expands, the valley begins to suffer. The air becomes polluted, the water is contaminated, and the animals become weak and hungry as their food supply dwindles. The humming fish have to leave the polluted waters. Finally, the day comes when the last truffula tree is cut down. Without the trees, the Onceler's factory shuts down, and his family abandons him. The valley, once lush and vibrant, is now a wasteland. As everything is destroyed, all the animals begins to leave. With no more trees to protect, the Lorax lifts himself into the sky. The Onceler is left alone with his guilt and the desolate landscape he created. Lorax leaves behind a small pile of rocks with the word "unless" inscribed on them. The Onceler is left to ponder the meaning of this message as he lives out his days in isolation. Back in the present, the Onceler gives Ted the last truffula seed, entrusting him with the responsibility of planting it and bringing the trees back to Thneedville. Ted realizes that the future of the environment depends on the choices he and others make. Ted sneaks the seed back into Thneedville, but seed is captured in the camera. Ted devises a plan with Audrey and his family to plant the seed in the center of town. Ted's mother leaves to distract O'Hare's henchmen, while Ted, Audrey, and his grandmother left to plant the seed. Energized by this mission, they faces numerous obstacles in their attempt to plant the seed. Mayor O'Hare, realizing the threat that real trees pose to his bottled air business, mobilizes his forces to stop them at all costs. This leads to a series of chase sequences through Thneedville, with they narrowly escaping O'Hare's henchmen. They all reach its center of town. O'Hare uses his influence to convince the townspeople that trees are dangerous and unnecessary, spreading lies to maintain his grip on the city. In a pivotal moment, Ted gets an opportunity to address the people of Thneedville. He explains the importance of trees, the history of their town, and the need to restore nature to their artificial world. Initially skeptical, the townspeople are gradually won over by Ted's passion and sincerity. The citizens of Thneedville ultimately turn against O'Hare, rejecting his fear-mongering about trees and embracing the idea of a greener future. Together, they help Ted break down a section of the town wall, allowing him to plant the seed in a small patch of earth, the first real soil seen in Thneedville in years. The Onceler watches from his tower in the distance. As the years go by, Thneedville flourishes, and the truffula forest begins to resemble its former glory. The Lorax, who had disappeared into the sky, reappears, his presence a silent acknowledgement that the balance between humanity and nature is being restored. As the story concludes, it leaves viewers with a powerful message about environmental stewardship and the importance of taking action to protect the natural world. It suggests that change is possible, but only if people are willing to stand up for what's right and work together towards a common goal. This has been Recap of the Lorax movie. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and thank you for joining us on this incredible journey. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more exciting stories from Flashback Flicks. See you next time.